people who are wealthy, powerful, politicians, people who are very well-to-do, who are simply perfectly possessed, who have, in effect, made their own pact with the devil.
Yes, sir, that's absolutely 100% correct. You see, when one becomes into the realm of our most unholy and great master, one must become to the realization of the conspiracy of the devil. You see, we conspire to gain vengeance for our master being cast out of heaven. There is no forgiveness of any kind. There is no mercy in our faith. Our master seeks to have victory over God, and by that meaning his people. To wreak chaos, to create havoc, destruction, violence on this planet, to take many as he can away from the arms of God, away from God's kingdom. That is our purpose. A sense of reality begins to surface its ugly head. And the reality is simply war. We war against the holy and God. As God's people, war to obtain peace and to uphold that which God has set on this world, the foundation that God has built, that they must uphold it, for we must uphold our end of the almighty plan.
What is the plan of Satan? What does he want of this world? Does he want this world to be?
His kingdom, his virtual world, his heaven, if you will. We talk about reality with God, what's coming in the world, and Satan.
So you think then that you are, as we discussed earlier, that you are perfectly possessed?
Mr. Bell, in front of your audience, the millions, whatever are listening, Christ said something in his scriptures that I take to virtual heart, that Christ says, whoever denieth me before men, I will deny before my Father. I deny Jesus of my body and of my soul. And I deny him of a right to have any governorship over me, any authority over me. Period. I deny him the right of my heart. That way I will be assured that he will definitely, and I do everything in my power, each and every breath I take, I definitely want to be denied in heaven. I want the second death. When the numbers of the sands of their numbers are like the sands of the sea when they surround the encampment of the saints.
All right, do you have a question?
Actually, I had an answer to your question as to which politicians had already made their pact with Satan. I have been studying witchcraft and the occult for several years, actually about 8 or 9.
And
I have discovered an insidious and heinous plot of Satan to try and rule over the world governments. And it involves, as you mentioned in an ad I do believe earlier, about a coin that has 2-headed eagles. That is one of the signs of Satan.
A coin that has 2-headed eagles?
A double-headed eagle, yes. That is a sign of a religion known as Freemasonry. And Freemasonry, most people in Freemason pacts or Freemason lodges, which are all around the country and all over the world, would like you to believe that they're like a little group, like a little lodge, like a membership.
That does good things, good deeds.
Yes. In reality, Freemasons have a secret pact with the devil to go out and rule over the world and to bring Satan above ground on earth to be able to rule in complete monarchy.
All right. Do you have a question for Patsy?
Actually, I wanted to ask her if she was a Freemason herself.
All right. Patsy, are you?
No, sir, I am not. But what the gentleman has just said on the phone, I would like to thank him. I would like to thank him kindly, even though there were some things that I don't quite agree with, and that's what makes America wonderful. But he is dead on accurate to a degree, and I'd like to thank you, sir, whoever you are, very, very much, because the conspiracy lies deep in politics that you would not believe. About the coin, look who was in the presidency and the Congress and everything at that time. Look at the New World Order. Who brought that up for the first time? There's your answers. Go and seek these things out, America. Do it on your own. I'm not going to sit here and tell you. You do it for yourself. If you dig deep enough and overlook a lot of the red tape and a lot of the hogwash that's put in front of our faces on the TV and so on, you will begin to understand that this conspiracy is very old, very, very old. In America, we are alive and well.
In order to fulfill the goal of the New World Order Luciferian agenda, in which everyone still living will be required to take the 666 mark of the beast and become willing slaves in Antichrist's New World Order, they must create situations that cause all nations to view your Second Amendment rights to bear arms as an extreme danger to the whole of the human population. And that's because you cannot have your future slaves armed with guns. Why? Well, what are slaves with guns? They are dangerously potential free men that may try to put up an armed resistance against the Luciferian New World Order to no avail. Thus, they must seize all guns, and Obama is front and center of this agenda under the guise of gun control.
Some people pretend to be shot, some play dead, others don't even know that blanks were being fired and actors were using fake blood for make-believe injuries. So I wanted to get that out of the way before we talk about the newest Orlando hoax, as I believe it to be similar in nature to the Dark Knight Aurora shooting. Genuine people were in attendance, but so were all the actors. Let's take a look at some of them, starting with Louis Bourbano.
Eyewitness now, Louis Bourbano is also with us right now. Louis, you were inside the club as well?
Yes, George. I was inside one of the main bars in the front when you turn in at first, towards the end, cashing out around 2:05, no later than that.
We can stop it right there. He goes on and never any emotions, despite the fact he is an actor listed on IMDb with some of his work. Not a very good actor, but he's been in The Sacred, BFF, and Less Lost, all which I can't even find any copies of, so they must be bad. And he is desperate. Next, let's look at Christine Lee Inonen. Let's watch her plea for assault weapon gun control. And let me tell you, she's wearing sunglasses for a reason. Because she sucks at fake crying.
So I texted him and called him and came right here to the hospital. And we've been waiting since 4 this morning.
Look at her glasses. I'm going to put pause here. At certain points you're going to see clear reflection, these squirt lights. This is from a green screen in a studio. Same exact thing. This is daytime, okay? Sun shining, sunny, summer date in Orlando, Florida. You should not see this at all. This is completely busted. They've been caught without a shadow of a doubt. All those people that believe in this phony, fake show, nothing more than a gun grab, propaganda. What do you have to say about this? This is obviously green screen. This guy sold his soul to the New World Order a very long time ago. These people have no shame whatsoever.
I just wanted to say, though, that this is a club that nobody wants to be in. And please, could we do something with the assault weapons so that we could stop this club from ever getting any new members? I beg all of you, please. I wanted to let you know about my son. When he was in high school, he started the Gay Straight Alliance. And he won the Anna Frank Humanitarian Award. to bring gays and straights together.
I think there's a hint of desperation about you. I really do.
Now here's some footage of her that reminds me of A Requiem for a Dream. It's like that old woman that she has some loose screws and she wants to be on television.
Hi, I'd like to be on Wheel of Fortune. I think I'd be a great contestant because I'm a lot of fun and other people would enjoy watching me win or solve or try to solve all the puzzles. I live in Central Florida. I have 2 kittens called Mickey and Minnie, but they're cats. This is the 3rd time I tried to get on Wheel of Fortune.
I never thought I'd be on television. I'm gonna be on television. I got a call and an application. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be a contestant on television. Everybody likes me. Soon, millions of people will see me and they'll all like me.
It's called television programming. They telling you visually the program. You being programmed. You watch it on the news. It was on CNN. It's true. I seen it on Fox. It's real.
Back on this Orlando shooting thing where, things just don't really add up. How everything's a prop, everything's a post, everything's a tweet. That's how we know things are real nowadays, is tweets, posts, and Instagram. I guess that's how we get all our data now. So we don't get any real footage in the club. No one going in the front door, shooting their way in. The bouncers supposedly had a gunfight with him. Where's that video footage? It's a club. It's over 300 something people. You're telling me they didn't have any security camera surveillance tape? Come on now. They even send out this big old mobile commander center, out there to supposedly assess the situation, but pretty much set up the hoax. Or they're trying to start a 9/11. You see how the cameraman, the newscaster is holding the mic up to her, and she's throwing up the 666 or 6/11 or 9/11. It's all part of the scheme.
Oftentimes, these are done by agent provocateurs. There are, black government entities that will perpetrate these events, and then usually they will find a patsy to pin it on, and then the patsy will end up being killed either in a shootout or in police custody. So let's take a look here at the suspect story and what the narrative is there. So as this was going on, we had multiple reports coming out. At first it was 2 snipers, and then it was 3 snipers, and then it was 4, and then it was 5. So I've seen reports all the way from 2 to 5. And now, as you can see here, you already see that it went from multiple suspects now to focusing on one person who I personally believe is a patsy. I would not be surprised if you find out that this guy had involvement with the FBI. Anytime the FBI is involved in something, you know that something is not right. So this here supposedly shows that there was a suspect or 2 suspects. I've seen varying reports on this, that there were 2 suspects that got in a Mercedes. They threw a camouflage bag in the car, and then they took off down the street and were stopped on the freeway, which is interesting that they were stopped on the freeway like that. That alone looks shady to me. However, this shows evidence of multiple suspects. So this guy right here was open carrying at the protest, openly, not trying to be secretive or sneaky or whatever, and he was thought to be the original suspect. He ended up turning himself in. The story goes that he took his gun and unloaded it and gave it to a police officer. Fortunately, he was smart and turned himself in and was not caught with his rifle, because I think that he would have been another patsy in this situation. I think that that's why they had everybody looking for him, because they were hoping to catch him and, get him in a shootout with the cops or whatever and say that he was, one of the actors in this shooting. So
I'll let you know so you can let them know. We just aired the video of Mark Hughes handing over that weapon earlier tonight, as was described to us by no less than 3 other people, which now seems, all those stories seem to be backed up by the video that was shared tonight.
Yes, but in spite of that, Doug, for a while tonight at least, Mark Hughes, most likely the most wanted man in America, suspected of being involved in the murders of 4 police officers. His brother, Corey, insisted all along that your brother was not involved. Do you feel vindicated now?
You know, no, I really don't feel vindicated because I just looked at my Facebook inbox. I got death threats. You know, Twitter, people are telling me they want to kill us, you know, because somebody that was irresponsible put my brother's image out there, and we were here just for a peaceful protest. You know, we were here. He was allowing himself to carry an arm, a firearm, but that's his constitutional right. That's his constitutional right. And because something went crazy and some opportunists decided to hurt some people, now he's plastered all over the media. And because I'm speaking on his behalf, you know, it's just it's overwhelming right now. If I'll be honest, I'm very overwhelmed.
Now, let's talk to Mark right now. I know this is overwhelming for you as well. What do you want to say to the people of this country that are watching right now, Mark?
I don't know what to say. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. The crazy thing about it is that I was down here, I couldn't get to my vehicle because of the roadblock, and in hindsight 2020, I could have easily been shot.
Where were you when your picture was being plastered all over the country? You didn't even know?
I didn't know. We received a phone call that my face was on there as a suspect, and immediately I flagged down a police officer. So
while the country was looking for you, you were talking to police.
I was talking to police, laughing and joking with police officers.
And not only that, we were assisting the police. You know, we were part of the organization that put on this peaceful protest. We were part of the organization that put on this peaceful protest. And so
this is just more evidence of different news reports showing that there were, in fact, multiple shooters.
On floor, we believe, is one of the shooters, and we are negotiating with that person as we speak. So I'm going to have to get back real quick, but we do know what happened is that 2 snipers, at least 2 snipers, from elevated positions as the protest rally march ended, began firing upon our officers, ambush style.
Let's take some questions. Talk about the pictures you guys want put out. Who are these people you're looking for in the pictures? They handed a bunch of these out.
Right, we wanted to show a person of interest who witnesses at the scene say were involved in this shooting in some way. So this is a person of interest. As you can see, they're in camouflage, and they have a rifle strap slung with a rifle butt sticking up. And we know that rifles were used to injure and kill Dallas officers and a Dart officer. And so if anyone knows or recognizes this picture, please immediately call 911. Do not approach this suspect. We'll bring him to justice.
So you can see very clearly that they were trying to make it look as if there were multiple suspects, and now they are changing the narrative as we speak, trying to pin it on one person.
Why, the motivation, who they are, but our detectives are diligently interviewing and interrogating these people, and we'll find it out and share it with you as soon as we have it.
So, Chief, fair to say that you're talking about 4 people, 1 in the garage, 2 in the car, and the other woman was in the garage. You believe they were all working together at this point?
That's our assumption now, and working together with rifles, triangulated at elevated positions in different points in the downtown area where the march ended up going, the route of the march.
It looks like they're going to be pinning this on a single suspect. So this is Micah Xavier Johnson. He said that he did this alone. So that's key, right? We don't have any evidence as of now that he actually said it, but now they are saying that he did this alone. They have multiple suspects. It's interesting how they're shaping this narrative to make all of the blame lie on this person. So let's see what happened with him, what the suspect said, and how he died.
Off through the standoff that had occurred or that was occurring at El Centro on the second floor, the college there in downtown Dallas. We cornered one suspect and we tried to negotiate for several hours. Negotiations broke down. We had an exchange of gunfire with the suspect. We saw no other option but to use our bomb robot and place a device on its extension for it to detonate where the suspect was.
Supposedly one sniper took out 12 Dallas police officers as people mulled around. First of all, how does a sniper kill 5 police officers and wound 7 with a bolt-action sniper rifle? Second, since the shooter had felonies, where did he get the rifle? Third, some of those on TV looked awful familiar, like the Boston bombing people. Same actors, right? Yep, right out of Pima, Arizona. Fourth, why are the people standing around if there's a sniper shooting, right? And why did the initial report say there were 3 snipers? Fifth, how could the suspect tell police he did this alone if he was blown up using a drone carrying a bomb? That's right. The police killed him using a drone carrying a bomb. Boom, blew up the drone and killed him, blew his body parts clear across the universe. So how did he tell the police, I did this alone, nobody else was involved? He did this alone. He told the police he did this alone, but he was blown up with a bomb. So how did he tell the police he did it alone? This whole thing stinks to high heaven.
My disclaimer that I am only talking about this camera angle because I have specific life experience as a special effects technician where we used the actual technology that's used in this frame. So this video is called Dallas Cop Shooting, Dallas Cop Shooting, Dallas Cop Shooting, Warning, Graphic, 18+. This is what happened after the Alton Sterling shooting. You can see a guy, a police officer presumably just fell down. You've got bullets hitting there. A couple more bullets are hitting. We know because you can see them. There's a bullet, there's a bullet. I mean, this is like a Wild West show at Disney World. You can actually see the bullets hitting because sparks are flying. Dust flies up off the ground. Look, there's like 7 sparks that bedazzle. That's not what a real bullet does. That's not what a real bullet does. That's what a bullet does in a movie. So those are like paintballs filled with either sparks or dust. They're called spark hits. They're called dust hits. And I know some people in Texas who might have been hired to stand around shooting paintball. I mean, the police themselves could have done this. Some Freemasons could have done this. So you've got a sound and light show with the sound of the with the fake bullets, and then you've got the visual of the fake bullets, which is the dust hit, which you shouldn't be able to see like that, or the spark hit. I mean, there, sparks, 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 sparks. Dust. And you've got this poorly choreographed police officer falling down when you can clearly see the bullet hitting the dust like 3 feet to his left. I mean, it's all just a magic show.
So let's take a look at this alleged eyewitness video.
Police got shot. There's a cop. I was walking. And they just started shooting.
So keep an eye on this guy that approaches from the back left with the bald head. He's all calm and collected. Watch his hands.
I saw three. Like, oh, we was running, like they just kept shooting. It's coming. We don't know where it's coming from. But it was every time. I didn't see anybody else get shot.
He said three times. There he goes, coaching him. He saw him touch him and remind him to say 3 DPD. PD?
Say what? Yeah, I went to go hide. What you mean that I go hide? Oh, yeah, I went to hide. You don't just sit down when people are shooting. Like, yeah, you gotta work on like shit. Yeah, the cops are being shot. All the cops.
These people all standing here supposedly or seemingly don't know each other, especially the girl in the blue shirt that keeps popping in and out.
What's your name? I'm Courtney. Courtney? Yeah. What's your last name, Courtney? Washington. Washington, you from here in Dallas? Yes. C-O-R-U-N? No, C-O-R-T-N-E-Y. C-O-R-T. Okay.
Now also watch on the left side. Boom, right there. You see that guy on the left? Who is he? Where'd he come from? What's he doing? Overseeing this operation here?
Tell her I said no. I said no.
Keep an eye on the girl in the blue. She just started talking when the camera came over. And she's going to make eye contact with the guy in the white shirt who tells her something along the lines of move on or something like that. And she hurts his people who supposedly don't know each other out of the way. And they leave as a group. Now, one thing else that I wanted to point out was somebody says Blue Jay in the background. What's that, a code name? So there we go, we got the 666 in the background there. Letting you know what's really going on.
Well, the country has moved one step away from martial law. The events over the last 24 hours are stunning, and these events could not happen in unison without some organizing structure behind them. And what I'm specifically referring to is George Soros and Black Lives Matter, which should be declared a domestic terrorist organization for their acts of violence within the United States. No, I'm not denigrating black people for standing up for their civil rights or for wanting justice for the improper murders of black men and women at the hands of the police when they act inappropriately. That's not what I'm talking about. But Black Lives Matter is carrying out random and regular violence against perfect strangers who have nothing to do with this conflict. They are indeed a terrorist organization, along with MoveOn.org, another George Soros creation. And boy, did Hillary Clinton ever get what she needed, which was to get off the front page with her criminality. Hillary Clinton and George Soros, the impetus behind Black Lives Matter and MoveOn.org, are extremely close friends. Well, these events have catapulted from Dallas all across the country. Thousands of protesters blocked a highway in Atlanta, Georgia, as they marched against police brutality. Let me say this about police brutality. In the instance of these young black kids who have been killed by the police under very questionable circumstances that I think should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, and I also think we need to go back and revisit the Eric Gardner case in New York City, in which he was suffocated to death for no good reason whatsoever. But when we look at these events, they're always police versus black individuals. Well, folks, it's not just blacks who are being victimized by random acts of police brutality. It's also whites and Asians and Latinos. It's not just blacks, but that's not what the media is trying to ferment here. They're trying to cause a racial civil war between blacks and whites, so they don't bother to report the other acts of police brutality. Comparing from 5 years ago to today, or 10 years ago to today, the numbers aren't a whole lot different. So to say that this is reaching epidemic proportions is a gross over-exaggeration by the mainstream media that would rather lie to you than tell you the truth. So we need to keep these in perspective. Final word here with regard to these events. Yes, We are being catapulted to civil war. There is absolutely no question this is the goal. But if the people will sit down, sit on their hands, and engage in meaningful and civilized dialogue, we don't have to be manipulated by the George Soroses of the world. We don't have to go down this path which could cause the death of millions of Americans. We can simply talk to each other, be reasonable, engaging in what is becoming a frenzied situation spreading across the country that has put us one step from martial law is not going to benefit anybody. Black, white, brown, yellow, doesn't matter. It's going to hurt the entire country. We need to sit down and calm down and talk to each other and not let ourselves be manipulated by the George Soroses of the world. You don't really care about the issue, George Soros. You simply want to start a racial civil war that'll spread to a general civil war, so all opposition to the elimination of American sovereignty will be eliminated, and you can usher in your grotesque, satanic New World Order. And if you look at it, this is what this is all about.
You're free, and freedom is beautiful. And, it'll take time to restore chaos and order, but we're order out of chaos, but we will.
Look at that, just shooting back and forth. Look at this. Let's go. He's pulling your car. Oh my God, they're all shooting back and forth.
Those are all handgun victims.
The shooter targeted a nightclub where people came together to be with friends, to dance and to sing and to live. The place where they were attacked is more than a nightclub. It is a place of solidarity and empowerment where...
What? The club was more than a club, according to Obama. Hold on a second.
To live. The place where they were attacked is more than a nightclub. It is a place of solidarity and empowerment where people have come together to raise awareness, to speak their minds, and to advocate for their civil rights.
Wait a minute. He said for solidarity, for people gathering. I mean, has Obama been to a gay club? Does he know what happens at a gay club?
So this is a sobering reminder that attacks on any American, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion.
But I don't mean just gay clubs, at any club. Do you really know what's happening at a club?
Or sexual orientation is an attack on all of us and on the fundamental values of equality and dignity that define us as a country. There's been another mass shooting in America. It cannot be this easy for somebody who wants to inflict harm on other people to get his or her hands on a gun. And what's become routine, of course, is the response of those who oppose any kind of common sense gun legislation. Right now, I can imagine the press releases being cranked out. We need more guns, they'll argue. Fewer gun safety laws. Does anybody really believe that? This time in a community college in Oregon. We are the only advanced country on earth that sees these kinds of mass shootings every few months. Earlier this year, I answered a question in an interview by saying, the United States of America is the one advanced nation on earth in which we do not have sufficient common sense gun safety laws, even in the face of repeated mass killings. And later that day, there was a mass shooting at a movie theater in Lafayette, Louisiana. That day. It cannot be this easy for somebody who wants to inflict harm on other people to get his or her hands on a gun. And what's become routine, of course, is the response of those who oppose any kind of common sense gun legislation. Right now, I can imagine the press releases being cranked out. We need more guns, they'll argue. Fewer gun safety laws.
on the United States of America. We have arrested 101 people linked to ISIS on U.S. soil since the caliphate was declared. This attack in part was facilitated by the policies of this administration, President Obama and Secretary Clinton, that have allowed political correctness into the threat assessment. Today, I beg the White House, stop with the political correctness. 101 people linked to ISIS on U.S. soil since the caliphate was declared. This attack in part was facilitated by the policies of this administration, President Obama and Secretary Clinton, that have allowed political correctness into the threat assessment. Today, I beg the White House, stop with the political correctness was facilitated by the policies of this administration, President Obama and Secretary Clinton, that have allowed political correctness into the threat assessment. Today, I beg the White House, stop with the political correctness.
Does anybody really believe that? Does anybody really believe that?
Here we see Omar Mateen's father visiting the U.S. State Department. He also claimed to have ties to several U.S. representatives, including Representative Charlie Rangel, Representative Dana Rohrabacher, and Representative Ed Royce, which are all gun control advocates. No eyewitnesses, no surveillance, no tears, no injured, no open casket, no assault rifles, no real reporting, no real evidence of any kind that it even happened. Just like the Orlando shooting, it's all fake.
Christine Frizzau takes a look into one part of the gun debate that very few people are talking about.
The Department of Homeland Security appears to be on a buying spree. Their most recent request is for 10 million rounds of hollow point bullets. That's in addition to a reported 1.6 billion rounds they already have. So during the height of the Iraq War, U.S. soldiers used about 5.5 million rounds of ammunition every month. If you do the math here, that means the Department of Homeland Security has enough bullets to wage a full-scale war for the next 30 years.
Bill, I come from a way of life in the military where you don't buy weapons that you don't intend to use. Why would you? And if you look at what the Department of Homeland Security has been purchasing over the last year, it comes out to like 1.6 billion rounds of ammunition, more than 7,000 fully automatic assault weapons, 2,700 MRAP type vehicles, and now drones. Those are instruments of war. Department of Homeland Security's, who are they going to fight a war against?
How do you answer that?
I don't know. That's a good question. But, you know, a bunch of people up here ought to be asking more questions about this. Why do they need all of that stuff?
Which seems to be substantial, too.
I have concluded over the years that to get to the Senate, to get to the presidency, generally to get to high political office in this country, you almost have had to have made some sort of pact with the devil. First time caller line, you're on the air with Harlot.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
Hi, Patsy.
Hi there, sir. How are you?
Not bad. How about yourself?
Oh, couldn't be better this time.
Okay, well, she's telling the absolute truth, and there's no question in my mind that Satan is with her in every single way. Not only that, but there's one thing that she isn't telling, and maybe she might not believe this. We'll see. Satan is here now. Satan is ruling the earth now. Okay?
Oh, yes, sir. I agree with you,
There's
sir.
no doubt about it. This is Satan's world right now. This is Satan's hour. Not for long, but it is his hour. And a lot of the callers so far that have called in is, you know, they're basically confused. She's not. She is prepared to die for what she's doing. She's prepared for her second death, and she knows it's coming. Okay? She is willing, and she's accepted this. She knows there's nothing that's going to change that. She is not saying that Satan is going to win. She has denied God. Okay? In doing so, she has forfeited her chance for salvation and her chance for eternal life.
I would agree with that based on what I've heard.
I agree with the caller. I agree with him 100% on a lot he says. And I do thank him. I do thank him kindly for saying those words, because I will not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Caller? Mm-hmm. Are you there?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Well,
this is our time.
I find it very unfortunate.
May I continue,
Oh, sure. I'm
sir?
just responding to that.
Okay. I find it very grateful. This is our time. But the events that are coming, there will be also another time.
Yes, after the 1,000 years.
And when that time comes, our people will raise their ugly head. And like I told Mr. Bell earlier, what Charles Manson did is putrid in every form. It's just a sick human being. We're not going to hallucinate. We're not going to have people just run out and do our dirty work. We are all going to do our dirty work. And when the evil begins, we will have mercy on no one. We will have mercy on no one.
We will have mercy on no one.
Judge Head says he and the county must be prepared for many contingencies, one that he particularly fears if President Obama is reelected.
He is going to try to hand over the sovereignty of the United States to the UN. Mm-hmm. Okay, what's going to happen when that happens? Mm-hmm. I'm thinking worst case scenario.
Right, I understand.
Civil unrest, civil disobedience, civil war, maybe. And we're not talking just a few riots here and demonstrations. We're talking Lexington, Concord, take up arms and get rid of the guy. Mm-hmm. Okay, now what's going to happen if we do that? If the public decides to do that? Mm-hmm. He's going to send in UN troops. I don't want them in Lubbock County. Mm-hmm. Okay, mm-hmm. So I'm going to stand in front of their armored personnel carriers and say, you're not coming in here. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff, I've already asked him, I said, you going to back me? He said, yeah, I'll back you. Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want a bunch of rookies back there.
True.
I want trained, equipped, seasoned veteran officers to back me.
Politics has to change, and the people who are troubled by this have to be as intense and as organized and as adamant about this issue as folks on the other side who are absolutists and think that any gun safety measures are somehow an assault on freedom or communistic, or a plot by me to take over and stay in power for ever or something. I mean, there are all kinds of crackpot conspiracy theories that float around there. Some of which, by the way, are ratified by elected officials.
We will have mercy on no one. You know, many times through biblical history, God's people failed. God had to punish his own people time and time again. This time, when this all takes place, they better be on the right track. Because
without a doubt. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about what you're saying in terms of that 1,000 years.
And if they're not on the right track, the punishment that Satan's rule, when we do take our stand on this globe, and even more than you can even begin to fathom what we're doing now.
No, I pretty much know it.
Okay, I respect that. They had better be close to God, because believe you me, what's coming when that mark, and when the only way you're going to be able to trade for food or survive.
You're talking about the number.
Right, the mark of the beast. There's going to be a lot of Christians, and I'm not calling you Christians, please, I'm not directing you saying, okay, he's a Christian, and no, okay, I'm just saying, a lot of people who believe in God will be put to the ultimate test in that day.
Right, we will have to die for that belief. There's
Exactly.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Exactly.
Right, we will have to die for that belief. There's
Exactly.
no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Exactly.
People who work here can be chipped to gain entry to the building and various services. I've just been chipped myself. It's not a painless process, but it doesn't last too long, not too difficult. Minor surgical procedure, which basically involves a little chip the size of, I suppose, of a grain of rice being inserted under your skin. The size of, I suppose, of a grain of rice being inserted under your skin. Being inserted under your skin.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark, in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever. And they have no rest day or night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
I can't believe he just paid with his hand. He just paid with his hand.
He just paid with his hand.
Like, you just literally put your hand up and you're good to go. Like, that's crazy.
Getting rid of cash. I ended up meeting with some people who are really active in the biohacking community and found that you could actually implant an RFID NFC chip in your hand.
So take a deep breath with me and exhale.
And so I figured if I could put it in my hand, maybe I'd be able to pay for something with my hand.
That was it. Breathe.
Yeah.
Keep breathing.
How's it feel?
It's like pinchy. It definitely hurt like way more than they said it was going to. It looks sort of like a grain of rice or like a pill that's in my hand.
I want to set for the record that I am exposing the works of darkness and proving without a shadow of a doubt that the hour is very, very late, because we are at the final end that precedes God's righteous judgment. God wanted the prophet of God to actually see with his own two eyes the wickedness and abominations that have reached the climax, leaving a holy, righteous God with no other alternative than to remove his protection and blessing from that nation that was once called by his name, and to pour out the wrath of his four sword judgments. He told the prophet Ezekiel to lift up his eyes and see. Again in Ezekiel 8:6, he said furthermore unto me, Ezekiel, the son of man, seest what thou doest? See what they do?
Our churches, Kira, are filled with same-gender loving people. From the music department to the pulpits. Music, church music, where would it be without our same-gender loving or gay musicians and singers? Not all of them are.
But many have come to you and said, can't come out.
Yes. Oh,
and we're
yeah.
talking very powerful people within the gospel industry.
Yes,
I've met
ma'am.
them.
Yes, ma'am. With tears in their eyes, they were afraid. There are people who come to me and say, I embrace your gospel of inclusion, Bishop, but I can't. It's not a theological issue with me. It's a business decision. I'll lose my flock. I'll use my money. I'll lose my parsons. I'll lose myself. I can't love everybody. I can't even love me, he would say. And I want to say to that group, and this is a wake-up call. Until the church, black or otherwise, confronts, not combats, confronts this issue of human sexuality and homosexuality, which is not going away. Homosexuals and homosexuality going away. If every gay person in our churches left, or those who have an orientation or a preference or an inclination or fantasy, if everyone left, we wouldn't have a church. We wouldn't have a church. We wouldn't have a church.
Do you not see the wickedness that they do? Even the great abominations that the house of Israel have committed here. And it is the same for this so-called Christian America, that I should go far from my sanctuary. God is not dwelling in these apostate so-called churches.
Name, and Jesus will look at them and he said, I never knew you. Depart from me, you workers of iniquity. This man is a worker of iniquity. Which man? You. He preaches a false.
God bless you. This is a true promise, though. This is a true. Don't take it with your crutch. I'm just trying to bless you. Well, thank you, sir. I'm not giving you my anointing because I have nothing to give.
It's not about.
Thank you.
The gospel is not about.
Just bless him and just pray and hallelujah. So, anyways.
Neither is God speaking through these sweet-talking, lying, pulpit-pimping wolves whose heart and affections are set on money, cars, houses, idolatry, along with lust-filled pleasures with wives and husbands. But turn yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations. There is much, much more wickedness that is taking place in this so-called Christian nation, or should I say ex-Christian nation, that I've displayed in this video. You've been warned, not only by a real servant of God, but you've also been warned by a true servant of Satan, of what awaits all of you that have been playing church and living as phony Christians. If you do not know Jesus Christ, the time to repent to God and seek to know him is now. For those of you that have known God but are living in known sin, your time to repent is running out. And also know this, a true Satanist is one who knowingly outright rejects God's holy word, which is his holy will, to instead do what thou wilt.
He that overcometh shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God service. That whosoever killeth you will think that he doeth God service. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved.